All right, let's talk about validation. Validation is extremely important. You cannot trust the data you're getting from the user because if the user is entering bad data and you're not checking it, you're not validating it, then there is a possibility it might corrupt your whole system. It might steal information from your system. And in the end, bad data coming into your database or some sort of a storage will be bad data going out because now you didn't validate it. So let's go ahead and see how we can actually validate something. So if I go to a route called user slash pass in the email, I want to validate that, that the email is in a correct format. Not like the email exists, but email is in the correct format. So this is not an email, right? But this is an email. This is an email. This is not an email, right? So let's go ahead and see how we can do that. The first thing we need to do, we need to get the email, what they're passing. And we can actually do that by saying request.params.email. All right. The next thing we need to do is we need to first of all find out that how are we going to validate it. So this is where regular expressions come into play. A regular expression is basically a combination of letters and numbers and special characters that can validate that if a certain condition is true or not, or if the past value, which in this case is email, matches to that validation expression or not. Now the question is, where do I get that validation expression for email? You can go ahead and search online, and most probably in one or two searches you're going to get into regular expression and how they're using it in JavaScript. So this is one of many millions of expressions to authenticate or to validate the email address. So I'm just copying this, and I will simply paste it over here. All right. So this is a validation expression, regex expression, which basically checks that if the person who is entering the email, it is in the correct format or not. But now I need to validate it against this. So if request.params.email.match, if it matches, well, if it doesn't match, then there's something wrong. Most probably the email is wrong. So we can say response.send incorrect email format. Else, we can say response.send, and we're just going to send the email address back. All right, so let's go ahead and try it out. So if I go to user slash email, so let's provide it some sort of a email, john@yahoo.com, and this is okay because john@yahoo.com is a valid format for the email address. It contains the ad, it contains some sort of a domain .com, .net, .something, so that's okay. So let's go ahead and remove some portion of it and run it again. And now you can see that this is saying that incorrect email format. All right. So make sure that when you are posting data, if the user is posting something or providing parameters and passing in the parameter over here like email, validate. Always, always, always validate. If you don't validate this, then a person can enter anything. So a person can enter like something like this, J, John, blah, blah, blah. This is not a valid email address, right? And if it goes to your system in your database, now you have this in your database because you did not validated it. And maybe you want to email this person. Well, this is the email you're going to send it to. And guess what's going to happen? It's not going to go to the email because, well, this doesn't really, it's not a valid email. And sometimes people, like users, can actually accidentally miss something. Like they can just say add and then like this. All right. So now they're missing like a dot and then the domain name dot something. So make sure you always validate it. Sometimes they mean like bad things, meaning like they just want to fill your database with incorrect email or hack it, but sometimes they can also make mistakes, and so it's always a good idea to validate the input before you take any action with it. So this is validating the input.